We'll appeal, we'll be successful, I think, because frankly, if we're not successful.
Whenever you get a judgment and you want to appeal that judgment, you have to put up a bond and you have to secure that bond with assets. So here we have $353 million. And then you add on top of that prejudgment interest, $450 million. That's a lot of money.
Totally corrupt attorney general. She campaigned on the fact that I will get Trump, I will get Trump.
And guess what? She got him. She had 2 cases with him and she won both.
They love it and they love what we've done. That's the real deal.
Those are not air Trumps. Those are January 6s.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I am your board-certified criminal defense lawyer. What does that mean? It means I personally am here for you. No matter what you need when it comes to being a board-certified criminal defense lawyer, I take my seriously. What are we doing today with my Luck of the Irish cufflinks? Today I am reacting to Trump and all the shit Trump is in. But before we get to that, this is brought to you by eForms.com. eForms.com is a very effective way to get a legal document done. Let's say, for the sake of example, you are a former leader of the free world, and now you owe so much money you can't stand it. And so you don't want to spend one more dollar on attorneys, but you need to do a power of attorney because people are saying that you don't have all your marbles. So what do? You get a power of attorney. You can just download it from eForms.com, and it's super simple and step by step. You're protected legally. Let's say you've been kicked out of New York and unable to do any business, so you need to have somebody else run your company because you've been disqualified. Well, what do? Get a business agreement, get it from eForms.com. Any other kind of agreement, power of attorney, rental agreement, go to eForms.com and you get a rental agreement. Anything you need to be protected legally in a document, you can get from eForms.com. You don't have to pay a high-priced lawyer like me. Well, let's talk a little bit about Trump and where Trump is at. Judge Engoron came down with his ruling over the weekend, I think on Friday. He ordered that Trump pay $350-some million worth of fines because of fraud and tax fraud and loan fraud. And this all stems from him inflating the values of his properties for business purposes, for a bank, and so we can get loans and preferential insurance rates, and then deflated them in terms of taxes. Okay? Now keep in mind, about a year ago, in October 2022, Letitia James sued the company. The company was found guilty of 17 felony counts of tax fraud. So people forget about that part of it, and they were ordered to pay $1.7 million, which I doubt that he's paid. And that's nothing. Here's what happens. Whenever you get a judgment, the company has to put, whether it's a company or whether it's an individual, and you want to appeal that judgment, you have to put up a bond, right? And you have to secure that bond with assets. So here we have $353 million. Fuck. And then you add on top of that prejudgment interest. Because the moment she filed the lawsuit, you go back to that moment in time to calculate the interest. And in New York, it's 9%. Here in Minnesota, it's 10%. But, so you go back to the time of filing, which is 9% interest. So you go back to that time, so that you've got $353 million. The interest going back, so now it's worth almost $450 million. That's a lot of money. But what kills me is he's losing every legal battle that he tries. And notice you don't hear the same lawyer's name over and over again, because guess what? He loses, he fires. He loses, he fires. So if you got $353 million, add another $100 million to that, or 90 some odd million, now you're up at close to $450 million. That's almost $500 million, right? So you would have to come up with 20% of that, but then you'd have to secure the balance with assets. You got to have the cash. And who's going to loan it to him? Nobody. So if he doesn't put up a bond, because what's the whole purpose of putting up the bond? It's to stay collection, right? So you got a judgment. Say, well, we're going to appeal. We put up a bond for the appeal. Then you stay collection of that judgment. Or you can sell some really fancy looking gold tennis shoes. Anyway, so Trump has got this $450 million judgment from the state of New York that he's got to pay. And it's due and payable now. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, not in 3 weeks, not give me another week. No, it's due and payable now. And what can they do? They can start seizing assets. They can seize part of... He doesn't own all of Trump Tower. He owns, I think, 3 floors of it or something like that. But they can take that. They can take Mar-a-Lago. They can take his Bedminster. Whatever adds up to that amount, they can start seizing assets. And guess what? He also has the $83 million judgment from E. Jean Carroll. Plus, he also has the $5 million judgment from E. Jean Carroll. So all this goes back to 2019. And if all this goes back to 19, where does that leave him? That leaves him in debt of almost $600 million. What else happened during that Engoron decision? Well, he's not supposed to do any business in New York. His companies can't do business in New York for the next 3 years. He personally can't run anything. His sons each got dinged $1 million, and also I think they have a similar ban from doing New York business. This is like the beginning of the end. So let's take a look at Trump's most recent statement.
Well, thank you very much. It's a very sad day for, in my opinion, the country. A New York State judge just ruled, and he's crooked as you could get. And a lot of people expected something like this, but not for the amount. But this is a very dishonest man. This is a man that's been overturned already.
So let me ask you this. If it's all rigged, it's a rigged system. He said initially, when he was running, that he knew the politicians better than anybody else. He knew the system better than anybody else. How is it that he doesn't have the talent to win? It's not about the system being rigged. It's not about a corrupt judge. I mean, why would the judge be corrupt? I mean, notice he'll never say how the judge is corrupt or how it's rigged. He doesn't, and he doesn't talk about the actual substance. There's no damage to anybody. Well, it isn't about, whether a particular bank, you can have bank fraud and you can pay back the loan and it's still bank fraud. And guess what? If that's a loan that shouldn't have been given, the mortgage broker or the loan officer who gave that loan can be just as guilty and complicit with you and not asking for documentation. There was a while where we had these mortgage fraud cases back in like 2007, 2008. They were everywhere. And you had loan officers all over the place who were complicit. And that's what he had with Deutsche Bank.
In this case 4 times. But a crooked New York State judge just ruled that I have to pay a fine of $355 million for having built a perfect company. Great cash.
Perfect company. If it's so perfect, how did your company and you get banned from doing any philanthropy in New York?
Great buildings, great everything. It affects New York. It's mostly talking about New York, where we have a totally corrupt attorney general. She campaigned on the fact that I will get Trump, I will get Trump. Everybody's seen it. Letitia James. They've all seen it. Well,
and guess what? She fucking got him. She got him hard. She had 2 cases with him and she won both. One, 17 counts of fraud, and here, the more comprehensive civil case.
Be appealing, but more important than that, this is Russia, this is China, this is the same game. All comes out of the DOJ, it all comes out of Biden. It's a witch hunt against his...
It doesn't have anything to do with Biden. Biden's got absolutely nothing to do with Letitia James. The DOJ has got nothing to do with Letitia James.
Political opponent, the likes of...
Letitia James works for the New York Attorney General. She is the New York Attorney General. So it's a state thing. It's absolutely nothing to do with the feds.
Which our country has never seen before. You see it in third world countries, banana republics, but you don't see it here.
He's right. He's 100% right. We've never seen this before. Why? Why? Because we haven't had presidents do this before.
So I just want to say this. You build a great company. There was no fraud. The banks all got their money, 100%. They love Trump. They testified that Trump is great customer, one of our best customers. They testified beautifully. And the judge knows that. He's just a corrupt person. And we knew that from the beginning. We knew it right from the beginning because he wouldn't give it to the commercial division. This judge thought
So why couldn't you win it on its merits? Why couldn't you sway this judge? Why couldn't you put on a better case than Letitia James? Why? Because you didn't have the facts. It's as simple as that. And then you hired Haba to handle such a complex matter where she was so ill-equipped. I mean, remember the judge telling her to sit her ass down? I mean, fuck. You don't want the judge to do that. I mean, I'm sorry, but she didn't have it.
Mar-a-Lago is worth $18 million, and it's worth anywhere from 50 to 100 times that amount. So we realize.
Oh, it's worth 50 to 100 times that? So $1.8 billion, Marla? Okay, are you paying property taxes on $1.8 billion? What did you tell the property assessor that property is worth? You didn't tell him it's worth $1.8 billion. And you're not paying taxes, property taxes, on $1.8 billion. I guarantee it.
That he ruled against me before he even got the case. He ruled against me. He said I was guilty. He didn't know what I was guilty of before he even got the case. And Letitia James, that's another case altogether. She's a horribly corrupt attorney general, and it's all having to do with election interference. There were no victims.
Election interference. How does it have anything to do with election interference? So the Palm Beach County tax assessor says it's worth $37 million as a club. And one of the things is there's certain things you can do and can't do as a club. So maybe it would be worth more if you tore it down and did whatever.
Because the banks made a lot of money. They made $100 million. And by the way, I paid approximately $300 million in taxes as the migrants come in and they take over New York. I paid over this period of years over $300 million in taxes, and they want me out. Oh, let's see if we can get them out. These are radical left Democrats. They're lunatics, and it's election interfering. So I just want to thank you for being here. We'll appeal. We'll be successful, I think, because frankly, if we're not successful.
He talks about appeal. I don't know that he's won much on appeal. I think when the Angoran judge was appealed on a couple issues, the Court of Appeals ruled in their favor on something, but I can't remember which. But overall, he fucking lost. And we're still waiting on 2 appeal decisions. One from the Supreme Court on the Colorado decision on whether or not he's off the ballot there. My guess is that they're going to come down and say he should be on the ballot there. I wouldn't be surprised if that's how they came down. And then the other one is the presidential immunity, where the D.C. Court of Appeals ruled that, no, you're not you're not immune from prosecution. And remember the question there that the district court or that the Court of Appeals judge asked? If you took SEALs Team 6 and ordered them to kill your political opponent, would you be immune from that? No, you're not above the law. The Supreme Court thing is on the fast track, so we'll see what happens there. But let's continue to listen to Senior Trump.
New York State is gone. People are moving out of New York State, and because of this, they're going to move out at a much faster rate. They used a statute. It's a consumer fraud statute that's never been used for a thing like this before. They used it on me because I'm running for president.
Regardless, where are your fucking balls? How come you didn't kick Letitia James's ass? So she's corrupt. Did you move to disqualify her? I don't think you did. And did you move to disqualify this judge, this corrupt judge? No, you didn't. Why not? You know, I know you tried to get it out, in a different county or whatever. He just makes the dumbest moves. It's like the document case, in Mar-a-Lago. Why not just hand him back over? That whole thing doesn't make any sense to me. He had to wait until they got a federal warrant, and now he's got obstruction of justice charges and retention of document charges, and that case is going to be about as easy to prove as anything. So he has never been held to account, and I think that's what you're seeing here. All these moves are just so stupid, but this long-standing fudging your assets and doing things I do agree with him on one thing. He probably wouldn't get this scrutiny had he not been running for president. That I do agree with. But all of a sudden, he's out there and he's blustering. He's this, and that caused people to take a look and scratch the surface. He said he's been under audit this whole time. That's why he hasn't shown us his taxes, and we know that's not true.
So my numbers actually were extremely conservative. They saw this, so what the judge did is he brought down certain values like Mar-a-Lago, made it ridiculous, but the expert, after having all of this, testified.
So if Mar-a-Lago is worth 100 times what the judge said, 100 times 18 million would be 1.8 billion. And the tax assessor said it's only worth 37 million. Does that square? I mean, and he bought it, I think, for 7 million, if I'm not mistaken, years ago. So now remember, Trump owes almost, 550 million basically. And where's that going to come from? Where is that going to come from? Well, do we have a plan for you, Mr. Trump? Let's go. What are these fucking shoes?
Hello, everybody. So, thank you very much. And we have a few young ladies that are up here crying. Look at you with the Trump 2024. Thank you, darling. I love you too. Wow. A lot of emotion. There's a lot of emotion in this room. Thank you. Thank you. So nice. So the really nice thing is we have lines, and I want to thank Chase and I want to thank Alan, but we have lines going all around the block. They're going all around this block. They've never seen anything like this one. I just want to tell you, I've wanted to do this for a long time. I have some incredible people that work with me on things, and they came up with this, and this is something I've been talking about for 12 years, 13 years, and I think it's going to be a big success. Your influencers have been very positive. They've been real influencers, and they love it, and they love what we've done. That's the real deal. That's the real deal.
Those are not Air Trumps. Those are January 6s. So he's selling those sneakers for about $400 million, or $400 million, for $400 a piece. And I saw one interview with one guy who bought a pair at auction for $9,000. $9,000. I just can't even imagine. If we look what he's got ahead of him, he's got so much ahead of him. He's going to be in probably a 4-week trial in Manhattan at the end of March. And so the whole month of April during the Republican primaries, he's going to be in trial. And guess what? It's not like the E. Jean Carroll case where he cannot attend. He's a defendant. He's got to be there every single day. There won't be cameras in the courtroom. He'll be able to get outside and say blah, blah, blah. And the judge probably will have some kind of gag order. I mean, if he doesn't have one already. I can't remember if they have a protective order or a gag order in Manhattan. But I just can't believe the temerity of this guy. I mean, all that with this Manhattan deal over a porn star. All this fraud case with Judge Engoron, all over fudging everything for tax purposes and for to get favorable loans and that kind of thing. It's a lot of money that he owes right now. $542 million or something like that, if you add everything up together. It is so much. Anybody else, it would just be absolutely overwhelming. Stick a fork in me, I'm done. Let's try to figure this out. And I just don't know why his lawyers aren't trying to cut a deal on any of this stuff. They really should. So he will be found guilty in the Manhattan case. That's going to be a very easy case to prove. He's going to say his defense is that, he was trying to keep this from Melania. They have to prove that another crime that this was being done for the purpose of another crime, and the crime that they're talking about is election interference, or basically that you want to keep this from the electorate, and so you've disclosed, or you've hidden the true nature of what these payments were for, so you wouldn't have to report it on your federal election committee disclosures, because it was a week away from the election, and that's what's going to happen. And he's not going to do a lot of time on this, if any, but he will get a felony on his record. He will have to do maybe a year and a half, maybe. And remember, Michael Cohen went to prison for this very same thing. So this is our reaction to Trump. He's just got so much on his plate. Now he's got a pair of shoes on his plate. I mean, he's hawking shoes. Who knew? We'll continue to follow it. The next big thing to come to Trump is this trial at the end of March. So that's like what, about another, oh, that's coming up in just a few weeks. You're going to have some motions. They'll probably have some pretrial motions. They'll have a pretrial hearing just before to lay the ground rules and make sure there are any other issues, before trial. My prediction is he will get convicted of that case. Michael Cohen is a witness. He's a convicted felon. They're going to make a big deal out of that. But he was there. He wrote checks to him for certain amounts, and they're going to add up to the amounts that Stormy Daniels got. I remember what happened to her lawyer. He's in prison now for all kinds of fraud. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, and we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away.
23-hour lockdown, please, is that my God?